You're standing in line at the grocery store. The cart in front of you has 12 items, yours has 2. And somehow, those 12 items are taking longer than your entire morning. Your jaw tightens, your eyes drift to the other lines. You start doing math you don't need to do. But the real answer for why this feels unbearable is far stranger than impatience. It has almost nothing to do with the line itself. It has to do with what's happening inside your skull. For most of human history, there were no lines. Your ancestors didn't queue for food, water, or shelter. Resources were either there or they weren't. Time wasn't something you waded through. It was something you survived. So when your brain encounters a line today, it doesn't experience mild inconvenience. It experiences something much older, something closer to a threat response with nowhere to go. Here's the strange part. Researchers have found that the actual length of a wait barely predicts how angry you'll feel. What predicts it is something else entirely: uncertainty. In the 1980s, a researcher named David Meister studied this exact phenomenon for the service industry. He found that people don't hate waiting. They hate waiting without knowing why, without knowing how long, and without feeling like they have any control over it. Think about that for a second. An unexplained wait feels longer than an explained wait. An uncertain wait feels longer than a known wait. Anxiety makes waits feel longer. And occupied time, time spent doing something, feels shorter than unoccupied time, even if the clock says otherwise. None of those 4 things are about the line. They're about what your brain is doing while you stand in it. And that brings us to your ancestors. Imagine a small group of early humans, tens of thousands of years ago, gathered near a watering hole. They're waiting for a predator to leave, waiting for the herd to move, waiting for night to fall so they can move safely. But this kind of waiting was never passive. It was vigilant. Every second of stillness was loaded with information. Where's the threat now? Is it closer? Did something just move in the grass? Your brain evolved in an environment where unstructured time almost always meant something was unresolved, and unresolved usually meant dangerous. Fast forward to today, you're standing in a checkout line. There's no predator, there's no threat, but your brain doesn't fully know that. It still treats unresolved time with no clear endpoint, as something to monitor closely. This is where a concept called time perception under uncertainty comes in. Neuroscientists have found that when an outcome is unpredictable, your brain's dopamine system behaves differently than when an outcome is certain, even if the certain outcome is worse. In other words, knowing exactly how bad something will be is often easier for your brain to handle than not knowing at all. This is why a 5-minute wait with a clear sign that says 5 minutes feels shorter than a 5-minute wait with no information at all. Your brain isn't measuring time, it's measuring uncertainty. There's another layer to this, and it's about control. A psychologist named Ellen Langer ran a famous study in the 1970s. She gave nursing home residents small choices over their daily routines. Things as minor as choosing what time to watch a movie or deciding where to place a plant. The residents who were given these small choices were measurably happier and, remarkably, lived longer than those who weren't. The takeaway wasn't about plants or movies, it was about control. Even tiny amounts of perceived control change how your brain experiences a situation. Now think about a line again. What control do you actually have? You can't make it move faster. You can't see the future. You can't influence the cashier, the customer ahead of you, or the till that's suddenly out of receipt paper. Your brain registers this lack of control. And a brain that senses zero control over an unresolved situation does something predictable. It generates stress. This is also why people switch lines, even when math says it won't help. Switching lines isn't really about speed. It's about restoring a feeling of agency. You're doing something. You're not just standing there helpless while time passes around you. Here's where it gets even stranger. Lines didn't really exist as a daily human experience until surprisingly recently. For most of history, if there wasn't enough of something, people simply didn't get it. There was no concept of your turn. Waiting in an organized, single-file line for a shared resource is a relatively modern invention, tied closely to crowded cities, mass production, and centralized services, which means your brain, built over hundreds of thousands of years for an entirely different kind of waiting, is now being asked to process a completely artificial situation. A situation it has had almost no evolutionary time to adapt to. You're essentially running ancient software on a modern problem, and that mismatch shows up in your body. Studies on cueing stress have found measurable increases in heart rate and blood pressure during long, uncertain waits, even when nothing is at stake beyond a few extra minutes. A few extra minutes, and your body is responding as if something matters. There's also a social dimension to this that most people never consciously notice. In a line, you are surrounded by strangers, standing unusually close, facing the same direction, often in silence. For most of human history, being in close proximity to unfamiliar people especially in a confined or controlled space, carried social weight. Group dynamics mattered, status mattered. Who moved first, who waited, who got served. These things often reflected social hierarchy. So even today, something subtle happens when someone cuts in line. It's not really about the 10 seconds they're stealing. It's about a perceived violation of an unspoken social order. That flash of irritation you feel isn't really about time at all. It's about fairness, status, and unspoken rules being broken in front of a group of strangers. Your brain is still keeping score, even when there's nothing to keep score of. So, what does all of this actually mean for you, standing there with your 2 items and your tightening jaw? It means the weight was never really the problem. The problem was the absence of information, the absence of control, and an old, deeply wired social alarm system reacting to a modern situation it was never designed to interpret. Some companies have figured this out, even if they don't frame it this way. Disney famously redesigned its cue lines to wind through scenery, characters, and small interactive moments, not to make the lines shorter, but to make the wait feel occupied, explained, and almost intentional. People reported the same wait time as feeling significantly shorter, simply because their brains had something to process other than uncertainty. Airports added longer walks to baggage claim, not to slow passengers down, but because a wait that includes movement feels shorter than a wait spent standing still, staring at an empty carousel. None of these changes made anything faster. They just gave your brain something it desperately wanted: information, motion, and the illusion of progress. So the next time you're standing in a line, watching the seconds stretch out longer than they should, know this. Your frustration isn't really about the line. It's not about the person ahead of you, or the slow cashier, or the till that just ran out of paper. It's about a brain built for survival, encountering a situation it was never built for, and quietly, instinctively, asking the only question it has ever known how to ask. How long is this going to last, and is it safe to stop paying attention? You're not standing in a grocery store. Not really. You're standing at the edge of a watering hole that never existed, waiting for a predator that was never there, in a body that hasn't quite caught up to the world it built.